Fellowship spent our spring breaks in Southeast Washington, D.C. We learned a lot about the issues that affect our city and the godly response to those issues. As we continue to learn about God's justice, our lives are changing. We want your lives to change too.
A reading from Luke 12, verse 13 through 34. The parable of the rich fool. Someone in the crowd said to him, "Teacher, tell my brother to divide the inheritance with me." Jesus replied, "Man, who appointed me a judge or an arbiter between you?" Then he said to them, "Watch out, be on guard against all kinds of greed. Life does not consist of an abundance of possessions."
I've read Luke, the Gospel of Luke, many times before, and I've even studied it with InterVarsity, but just moving into a different context, a context where we were really looking at what Jesus said about poverty amidst a community that was really affected by poverty, affected by racism, affected by just the broken world. Really changed the way I approached it and changed the way that I heard Jesus.
And he told him this parable. The ground of a certain rich man produced a good crop. He thought to himself, "What shall I do? I have no place to store my crops." Then he said, "This is what I'll do. I will tear down my barns and build bigger ones, and there I'll store all my grain and my goods. And I'll say to myself, you have plenty of good things laid up for you for many years. Take life easy, eat, drink, and be merry."
It kind of helped me realize that I don't really have as much trust in God as I should, and that I trust myself, and I take control of situations instead of really trusting that God will take care of me and that God will help me out in life. So I think that that's just something that I've had to pray a lot and reflect about, and it's something that I'm going to continue to pray about and think about and struggle with now, just as I'm going through my faith journey.
But God said to him, "You fool, this very night your life will be demanded from you. Then who will get what you have prepared for yourself? This is how it will be for anyone who stores up things for himself but is not rich toward God."
I think when thinking through the plunge, sometimes the most difficult thing to actually get accustomed to is that we're by ourselves, and sometimes our impact doesn't even have an effect upon these things of like injustice. But I think one of the most encouraging things about the plunge is that I learned how you could use community to actually have a much larger impact. And I felt extremely blessed by the fact that we actually have a community here at GW, and that community can be used to further God's kingdom and further justice throughout the city just by working together and actually changing the way we live our lives together as a community, not just individuals.
Then Jesus said to his disciples, "Therefore I tell you, do not worry about your life, what you will eat, or about your body, what you will wear. Life is more than food, and the body is more than clothes. Consider the ravens. They do not sow or reap. They have no storeroom or barn, yet God feeds them. And how much more valuable are you than the birds? Who of you by worrying, can add a single hour to his life? Since you cannot do this very little thing, why do you worry about the rest?"
But as I was on the plunge, what I realized is reading Luke 12, and that verse where Jesus says, "Where your treasure is, there your heart is also." I realized that he's making sort of the same idea about looking towards eternity and having that affect how we live. But he's using it in a way that affects how we steward our resources. And I was just really struck personally with like the way that I go out to restaurants all the time, when really I could be spending that money to help people in need, or to spread the gospel to other nations, to do things that really highlighted the fact that, I believe the gospel, and therefore I believe that eternity matters, and that this world's passing away. So I was just really excited about that as well. Consider how the lilies grow. They do not labor or spin. Yet I tell you, not even Solomon in all of his splendor was dressed like one of these. If that is how God clothes the grass of the field, which is here today and tomorrow is thrown into the fire, how much more will he clothe you, O you of little faith?
Jesus said, "Sell your possessions." It wasn't like a suggestion or give a little bit here, give a little bit there, but he is like commanding us to sell our possessions and change our lifestyles so that we have to depend on him because we've given things away.
And do not set your heart on what you will eat or drink. Do not worry about it. For the pagan world runs after all such things, and your Father knows that you need them. But seek His kingdom, and these things will be given to you as well.
I think the thing I was really challenged by on the plunge was looking at these issues and just seeing the way that I can live my life in a way that investigates these issues, in a way that responds to these issues well, especially as a Christian. And I think that's something I'm called to do while I'm in college, but also something that I want to do beyond college. It's something that I think is worthwhile to devote my life to. And this is something I really want to investigate now in college and also just as I go on.
Do not be afraid, little flock, for your Father has been pleased to give you a kingdom. Sell your possessions and give to the poor. Provide purses for yourselves that will not wear out, a treasure in heaven that will not be exhausted, where no thief comes near and no moth destroys. For where your treasure is, there your heart will be also.
Hey guys, here we are at TGI Friday. It's a place where we get together for community, for dinner, every night after large group, Thursday night. And we spend approximately $100 here for dinner. And I just want to challenge you guys to think about what we can actually do with $100. And during the Urban Plunge, we were able to make food together and actually live on food stamps around $2 per person. And with that, we were able to feed 30 people just $60 relatively well. And so what we want to challenge you guys tonight to think about is, what can we do with $100?